Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. Alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. They say when it rains, it pours, and that couldn't be more true for farmers.
Realistically, no, the corn's not going to all be planted by June 5th.
We head out into the field to see how they're weathering the storm. You might be surprised to find lions and tigers right in the middle of the Hoosier state. Ahead, we look at what laws make it possible. And the state school funding formula isn't a reliable recipe for success, with more school districts asking local voters to help bridge the gaps.
You better figure out how to eliminate waste and reduce variability and get as efficient as you can right now.
Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. A soggy spring is delaying farmers from planting their fields. This time last year, farmers were almost done planting corn and soybeans. But as my colleague Brock Turner reports, that's not the case this year, is it, Brock?
That's right, Joe. Last year, 94% of Indiana's corn was in the ground. Today, less than a quarter of fields are planted. And it's a similar story for soybeans, too. That's leaving farmers with crop insurance wondering if it's worth planting a crop at all. Brad Burbrink is a lifelong farmer. He grew up on one outside of Seymour and now plants 6,000 acres of corn and soybeans across Vigo and Clay counties. He says he's never been forced to delay planting this long due to rain.
This has been a worry, really, which we're always worried about it as early as the 15th of April. You know, we're ready to go to the field and get started and get things going, because ideally you want to be planted by the 10th of May. And those dates, you know, came and went. It was like, well, surely it'll dry up, it'll get better.
Burbrink says he has about 4,000 acres of land left to plant, but a couple of dry days doesn't help much.
The bad thing is we need 2 or 3 days of dry weather before we can start planting. So we really need a 10-day window of some drier weather.
Burbrink says he's been disking fields in hopes they'll dry out faster. He's optimistic this field will be dry by Saturday if it doesn't rain between now and then. However, even if the weather does hold, there's still a little time. Farmers that carry crop insurance have until June 5th to plant a crop and receive full coverage. If they plant after that date, their coverage amount decreases. Farmers could switch to soybeans, which can be planted later, but they're riskier. Prices have been volatile due to retaliatory tariffs from the Chinese. The market for soybeans is soft, and prices reflect that.
Realistically, no, the corn's not going to all be planted by June 5th, and we're probably going to leave some fields, take preventative plant on some acreage, and we will switch some fields from corn to beans. And we'll plant some acres after June 5th.
But the forecast does not look good. On a normal year, his barn is empty. Today, seed bags fill most of the space.
Sometimes you'll sit back and you'll wish you would have planted, like look back and be like, we should have been planting. This year, there hasn't been that opportunity to say, if I'd have just planted one day sooner.
Burbrink can rest, knowing he's done what he can do. But what he can't control could be costly. The weather could stand farmers to lose up to $100 per acre. With rain in the forecast 4 of the next 7 days, it's not looking like Mother Nature is going to cooperate either. And Joe, just yesterday, Trump announced he's planning to implement tariffs on Mexico, which is the second largest trading partner for the state of Indiana.
Okay, Brock, thank you very much. And with us to discuss flooding and other extreme weather and how it relates to climate change is Professor of Geography Justin Maxwell. Justin, thanks so much for coming on. So I didn't realize Indiana really isn't technically part of what's called Tornado Alley, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. Technically the Tornado Alley is actually in the Great Plains. We're a little bit east of that. And so now there's some talk about redefining Tornado Alley to what sort of nudge closer to Indiana. Why is that?
That's true. The path of tornadoes have been shifting eastward. The most
recent few years. We're not entirely sure why that is, but we are getting more in the state of Indiana than we have in the past.
And what kind of research or what's out there to indicate the reason for that push toward Indiana?
Some people think it may be climate change, but there's also a number of other things it could possibly be. The record's pretty short, so it's really hard to draw firm conclusions on the possible causes, but it is a pattern we are seeing for sure.
And I know you said climate change. Can we add in man-made climate change to that too?
That's definitely a possibility. Yeah, definitely a possibility. But again, the record's pretty short, so hard to draw firm conclusions, but that could be one of the possible explanations.
And we've seen a lot of flooding, increased rainfall as well across the Midwest, especially here in Indiana. What is this part of that same pattern, or is that something entirely different?
It's a little bit different, but it's probably more caused by man-made climate change. With a warmer Earth, you have more moisture in the atmosphere, and therefore a thunderstorm has a lot more moisture to work with, so you get a lot more rainfall and a much more intense rainfall, so much heavier. And so we're seeing much more flash flooding and just overall flooding because of this.
And can you just maybe tell me a little bit about your research that looks more at the climate, though, over a much longer period of time?
Sure, yeah. So I look at tree rings. Trees grow annually. They produce a ring, and so you can look back in time and think about what climate was like 100 years ago or 300 years ago. And so one of my more interesting findings is that the last 20 or 30 years have been the wettest in Indiana and the Ohio Valley in the last 300 years. And so we're definitely in a very wet period in the climate system.
Just a few seconds left, but about the future, do we see more wet weather, or could it change to be more dry weather?
It's forecasted to probably change to be more dry. So the ongoing wet period probably will end, but there's some uncertainty in that, and so we'll have to wait and see. We don't get a good handle on the precipitation, but
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having you.
Thank you.
Now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brosier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. Planned Parenthood officials expect greater expenses for abortions in Indiana following a U.S. Supreme Court ruling this week. The court upheld a state law requiring burial or cremation of fetal remains after an abortion. Now, it's unclear how much the new rules will increase costs. It could be a month or so before the court issues orders allowing the state to implement the fetal remains provision. The father of a 12-year-old boy who died in Monroe County last week now faces an additional murder charge, as well as his wife, in the death of Eduardo Paso. Luis Paso and Diane Medina Flores are being held in Monroe County on charges of murder, abuse, and neglect. The coroner says Eduardo, who died last week at the Bloomington Hospital, suffered severe starvation. Monroe County Sheriff Brad Swain hinted at a press conference earlier this week more charges could be coming.
If they can document certain instances of abuse, then the prosecutor's offices there may make a decision on adding additional charges.
Swain says Paso admitted to abusing the boy, but denies withholding food from him. 3 other children, ages 9, 5, and 2, have been placed with Child Protective Services. Although police say they show no signs of abuse, the parents are being held in Monroe County. Bloomington's Unified Development Ordinance is nearly 500 pages of text that create specific regulations for land use policy, zoning, and housing development. But some residents worry language buried in the dense ordinance could hurt the city's future. Alex Eady has this report as part of our City Limits series.
The multi-phase revision process began early last year, with time built in for the public to comment on the proposed document. But some residents say important residential zoning changes are within the dense code.
We're really worried about demolition delay so that a house like mine might be demolished, because for somebody that might mean 4 apartments stacked up, even if it's not very large.
The new draft will introduce 2 new zoning categories, R1 and R4, which will allow the development of larger multifamily spaces such as duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes in these single-family areas. But this comes with regulations. These new dwellings are only permitted on corner lots and would allow no more than 3 bedrooms per unit. City officials say the UDO's goal is not to threaten single-family zones, but to create a balance of diverse housing options throughout the city. Matt Flaherty, a nominee for Bloomington's City Council at-large seat, says he's heard the same concerns from community members. Residents are worried about how the UDO will affect their neighborhoods. Flaherty says looking toward duplexes and triplexes is one solution for filling the gap between single-family units and oversized multifamily apartments.
large student complexes often, or multifamily complexes that a lot of folks don't really like in terms of the context of our downtown development, but it's kind of the natural outcome of when you don't have any of that missing middle housing.
The consolidated draft of the UDO still has a long review process ahead and won't see final adoption until later this year. But residents hope the city will keep those impacted at the forefront of the process.
If people show up and have reasonable discussions, I think we can come up with some solutions that don't have to demolish what we have and the good things that we have.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Alex Eady.
We want to hear your questions about the changing face of Bloomington. You can join the conversation by going to WTIU.org/citylimits to ask your questions about the past, present, and future of the city of Bloomington. An invasive tree-killing disease called sudden oak death is worrying state officials. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources says the fungal pathogen was detected in rhododendrons in around 30 stores. The Indy Star reports those numbers have since tripled, with affected materials sent to more than 70 Walmart stores in 18 rural Kings. DNR officials say the plants were also delivered to other states, but Indiana has the most locations with infested plants. A Monroe County judge heard arguments on several motions this week in an ongoing dispute between neighbors over logging on private property along Lake Monroe. Michael Kane and Linda Raymond filed a lawsuit against Joe Huff last year because they say he was improperly using shared easements for commercial logging on his property. Huff's attorney wants a jury trial in the case, and he wants it to be heard outside of Monroe County. The judge is expected to make a decision on those requests by Monday. As part of a DNR investigation, divers found the body of 31-year-old William Snoddy in 30 feet of water late last weekend. Snoddy was reported missing Sunday afternoon while swimming near a boat anchored at Allen's Creek State Recreation Area at Lake Monroe. Boaters and swimmers nearby were aware of the incident and took extra precautions.
We've had a couple kids that just would slip off the boat and have hit, like, say, their head and got a concussion, or slipped off the slide once and broke their wrist. So there's so many small things that can happen, and it's important to have someone on board that knows what to do in case this does happen.
Officials confirm Snoddy was not wearing a life jacket. The incident was one of 4 water searches in Indiana in just the past week and a half. Monroe County commissioners discussed the feasibility of creating an infrastructure development zone to encourage additional broadband internet investment during a meeting this week. The zones are a tool the state gives local governments to enhance or improve existing infrastructure. Peter Gould lives in the proposed area that covers much of northern Monroe County. She says the investment can't happen soon enough.
It is so key to education. We have neighbors who homeschool, and when the kids are homeschooling on our road, they have virtually no internet access, which is not good for the 21st century.
Zones typically provide property tax abatements and income tax deductions, which policymakers hope will incentivize telecommunications providers to enter the area and offer services. A number of residents like Gould spoke out in favor of the proposal. The commissioners plan to vote on the measure during their meeting next week. And that's, of course, Joe, something that we'll keep an eye on as it moves forward.
Good news for the county residents.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Barbara. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. A decade of property tax caps has schools across the state coming up with creative ways to pay teachers and keep programs running. And Indiana is home to a lot of exotic pets. We look at the laws in the state that makes getting a hold of them so easy. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
The WTIU WFIU news team connects Indiana to the world. We bring you the top news of the day on radio, TV, and online. We round up the stories that have people talking each week and dig deep into the issues that affect your community the most. The WTIU WFIU news team is where you are and telling your story.
In a time of change, where can you find in-depth reporting and thoughtful analysis? Washington Week on PBS. Join moderator Robert Costa.
When I was at the Capitol this week, I encountered the same.
And a panel of award-winning journalists.
You're seeing a divided nation, and you're seeing
for insights and perspective.
Tonight there was a key development in the
Senate. You won't find anywhere else.
What a week.
Washington Week.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Teacher pay and school funding were central issues for policymakers as they crafted the state spending plan earlier this year. But the unpredictable structure of funding support in the state can be challenging for schools. About a third of Indiana's school districts have asked their local communities for more funding through voter-approved tax hikes, known as referendum measures. As Indiana Public Broadcasting's Jeannie Lindsay explains, that support is vital for schools facing big cuts.
Superintendent Steve Disney of River Forest Community Schools is breathing a huge sigh of relief. Local voters approved a referendum for his Northern Indiana district during the May election. Disney says the measure will help prevent a series of hard cuts.
Teaching positions, to staff positions, to looking at, transportation for extracurriculars.
River Forest and the rest of Lake County schools are gearing up for a challenge most public schools in Indiana have faced for nearly a decade: property tax caps. They limit how much property tax revenue local governments like cities, schools, and libraries can collect based on the value of people's homes, land, or businesses. When the caps went into place in 2010, lawmakers gave Lake and St. Joseph counties a decade to adapt. So, starting next year, River Forest will be cut off from collecting another $600,000 in local funding.
What that means at River Forest, that increased $600,000 loss would have amounted to our entire transportation program.
The state's budget adds $689 million more of direct state support for schools over the next 2 years. But public school advocates say the school funding system remains fundamentally flawed. State funding is determined by two key factors: student enrollment and something called the Complexity Index, which offers more money for students in poverty. The state estimates some districts will see little or no increases in funding, others could lose money. Combined with more state dollars going to vouchers and charter schools, limits on property taxes have left many public schools scrambling for cash.
We have become, I'm very honest to say, we have become a referendum state.
That's Denny Kosterson, Executive Director of the Indiana Association of School Business Officials. He says previous changes to state funding have caused some schools to have more money than others.
There are discrepancies in this state. There's some equity issues, meaning that some districts, because of whatever circumstances in the past, are in a better situation fiscally than others are.
Some districts, like Noblesville or Zionsville, pass referenda routinely, but not all communities can pass a referendum at all or want to. Franklin Community Schools, just outside of Indianapolis, asked voters to approve a referendum for the first time this year. The district built a new high school around the time tax caps were first put in place, and Chief Financial Officer Jeff Mercer says the community just wouldn't have supported one then.
There was a lot of consternation about the building of the high school. So for us, 10 years ago, doing a referendum was not an option.
Franklin schools have seen slight increases in state support, but Mercer says the district has lost out on more than $27 million in local funding with the caps in place, and costs continue to rise. Mercer says more teachers are leaving for better paying jobs, and the recently passed referendum is a way to bridge those gaps.
We had a teacher take a $21,000 pay increase to do the same job in a different district. That's a problem.
Lawmakers will study school funding this summer to figure out how best to target dollars to the most in-need schools, and they plan to study the effects of school referenda on teacher pay. In the meantime, Mercer has some advice for schools, especially for those losing enrollment, while they wait for lawmakers to figure out next steps.
Well, I can tell you one thing, is you better figure out how to eliminate waste and reduce variability and get as efficient as you can right now.
Because without more funding from the State House, schools have to rely on their communities to keep classrooms open or have fewer of them. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Jeannie Lindsay.
Across the state, there are dozens of animal sanctuaries, petting zoos, and rescue centers. In Indiana, it's legal to own nearly any kind of animal you can imagine as long as you go through the proper process. Adam Pinsker explains how state and federal laws govern possession of these animals.
Nestled in the woods deep in Owen County lies a haven for abandoned tigers, lions, and other felines.
I'm never bored. You know, I have an interesting job.
Director of the Exotic Feline Rescue Center, Joe Taft, says he took in his first big cat in 1991 and now has 150 of them.
They're not hard to find, actually. Especially a few years ago, you could find these animals on the internet, and quite often you could find them for as low as $500 or $1,000.
Taft says the online illegal pet trade has tapered off a bit. Now most of his animals come from defunct zoos or animal shows. Joe's facility is licensed by the USDA as an exhibitor. Visitors are allowed to look but not touch these animals, and with good reason.
They have the ability to kill you without being aggressive.
Just a swipe of a paw?
A swipe of a paw.
Taft's permit allows him to house any kind of cat or even a bear. His licensing fee is based on the number of animals he has on his property. Each year, the USDA inspects his facility, and as long as he doesn't have any violations, he pays his annual fee, and the agency renews his permit for another year. The rescue center is also subject to a routine inspection at least once a year, according to USDA policy. East of the Feline Rescue Center in Brown County, Kathleen Bowen is working through the process of opening a similar facility in Belmont. Her project, called Zoopolis, is permitted the same even though she won't have any exotic cats. What she wants to do is move a petting zoo she currently operates in neighboring Bartholomew County to this location. But at a zoning meeting about the center this week, dozens of residents showed up to voice their opposition to Owen's plan.
I have actually armed my daughter with bear mace because I don't want that wolf to get her.
Sandy Aldridge is talking about an incident from April where a wolf at Bowen's Columbus facility bit a small child. Owen calls it an isolated incident.
I've had 20,000 people come since I started in 2015. For general exercise, if this room would like to take 20,000 people and have them go jogging, do aerobics, you would have 106 injuries.
No charges were filed against Owen or Zoopolis. If you personally want to own an animal and not operate a business or sanctuary, then the state, not the USDA, has authority to approve or deny the permit.
It's pretty strict for any of the dangerous animals in particular. The other animals that we don't consider as dangerous, there are still housing requirements.
DNR spokesperson Lene Peterchev says the agency will inspect a potential permit holder's home to make sure it has adequate housing for the animal and the proper fencing to keep it inside. DNR says the permits are per animal, not per person, and there are 442 of them currently statewide. More than 100 of them are Class 3 permits, the most dangerous animals. 84 of those are for venomous reptiles. The rest of the permits are for less dangerous Class 2 and Class 1 animals like foxes and beavers. On Kelly Thomas's farm in Avon, west of Indianapolis, foxes, peacocks, even turtles have found a new home. But she didn't seek any of these animals out. They're here because people, in a lot of cases, got permits to own them, then at some point decided they no longer wanted them or they couldn't take care of them. She says the state needs stricter laws and animal control officials need to do a better job of educating the public about exotic animals.
If the public knows that there's that many exotic animals out there that are being mistreated and abandoned, it might not happen as much.
But the DNR says any changes to Indiana's exotic animal laws would have to originate in the state legislature.
Basically, the state legislature set forth a law a number of years ago requiring the DNR to permit certain animals, but they exempted them if they had the federal permit.
Taft says the state doesn't need additional regulations. What needs to happen is the state and the feds have to work in tandem, enforcing laws already on the books.
I think that there are a lot of bad situations that wouldn't happen if there was both a state and federal permit.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.
Indiana's laws are more lenient than nearly all of its neighboring states. You probably remember an Ohio case from 2011.
Yeah, there's a lion on Mount Perry Road in Grayshot.
I'm pretty sure, and I just saw a wolf.
Police were forced to kill dozens of tigers, lions, and bears that were set free by a man who owned them. That incident prompted the state to pass sweeping exotic animal reforms. A group of Hoosier lawmakers ventured out into the woods this week to celebrate the designation of Indiana's first national park. Many gathered to cut a ribbon and unveil the new Indiana Dunes National Park sign. Politicians hope the new park will draw in visitors and with them economic growth and a little positive attention to Gary, Indiana. About 15,000 acres of the Indiana Dunes were redesignated from a national lakeshore to a national park in February. And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. Alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.